Katie, we hear Trump is looking incredulous. He's shaking his head. He keeps saying this gag order is unconstitutional. How can you not allow him to respond when he's a candidate running for president right now? Respond to that.
He can still say what he wants as a political candidate, and protected speech is allowed under the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. The problem is he's already been proven and found by a judge to have run afoul of a gag order, one that I will re-emphasize has been limited in nature. It's not some broad gag order. It's been challenged. It's been found to be totally appropriate for somebody like Donald Trump. I think what's happening here is his lawyer, Todd Blanche, is saying that certain witnesses, for example, Michael Cohen, are purportedly using this gag order as a, quote, sword and a shield. And Judge Merchan noted that maybe that can be a problem for certain witnesses if they continue to look like they're also flirting with using the gag order as a sword and a shield. But Donald Trump is trying to do the same thing. He's trying to basically say, I can do and say certain things, but I'm not running afoul of this gag order because I am a political candidate. But that's not how it works. Politics does not live in our judiciary. It does not live in our judicial system, which is why I also think that the prosecution announced this morning that they're not seeking jail. I think it's frankly a failed opportunity at this point. But if they're not seeking jail and all that's going to happen is another fine, then I think you're going to see more from Donald Trump. And so I think Merchan needs to figure out, when do we turn the spigot off? When do we shut this down completely? And although the prosecution said we don't want to create disruption in the proceedings, I don't think it's disruptive. Put him where he needs to be so they cannot continue to violate a court order. That's the last thing I'm going to say quickly, Anna. It's a court order. If any of us sat here, that were sitting here, went to court as a defendant in a criminal case and violated a court order, we would be grateful to get a fine. But we wouldn't be at this point, and that's what's frustrating about this.
Because
there's
of the
this
repeated
standard,
violations.
yes, there's this weird standard that's applying that's, I think, terribly unfair to the system of justice, and it's sending the wrong message.
Jeremy, I want to listen to what the prosecution is alleging are the new gag order violations. Here's a clip.
When are they going to look at all the lies that Cohen did in the last trial? He got caught lying in the last trial. So he got caught lying, pure lying.
That jury was picked so fast, 95% Democrats. The area is mostly all Democrat. You think of it as just a purely Democrat area.
Michael Cohen is a convicted liar, and he's got no credibility whatsoever. He was a lawyer, and you rely on your lawyers. But Michael Cohen was a convicted liar.
You have this helping. You brought up David Pecker's testimony so far. When was the last time you spoke to him?
No, he's been very nice. I mean, David's been very nice. He's a nice guy.
In some cases, he's answering questions, which is something that his lawyer has said. He was just answering the question. It wasn't him who was bringing them up out of thin air. Do those sound like gag order violations to you?
They do. And let's differentiate Donald Trump in the courtroom. I've said many, many times, innocent until proven guilty. He's done nothing wrong until proven otherwise. The Donald Trump outside the courtroom is dismembering and dismantling the criminal justice system single-handedly by blowing up, if you will, the integrity of that process. And that's what Judge Merchan is trying to do. He's trying to say, there's a process here. I have to protect the jurors. I have to protect the court staff. You've demonstrated before that you can't abide by this. You've done this in other courtrooms. You need to follow my very limited scope and very limited ruling, and Donald Trump is not doing so. The problem is, it's a win for Donald Trump. It's a $1,000 fine to get your message out to your masses, and if he gets in and goes in, puts, cools his heels somewhere inside, that's going to be a win, too. So it's a really difficult bind the court finds itself. Really terrible.
So they initially had the gag order hearing, the first one last week. The judge ruled on that, Tristan, this week on Tuesday, and he issued the $9,000 fine, $1,000 for each of the violations. Those comments we just played were in between those two moments in time, right? The first hearing and his first ruling. And then when he made that ruling, he said that incarceratory punishment could come if Trump continues to violate the gag order. So does it seem like maybe that warning has worked? Do you see evidence of Trump now sort of holding his tongue?
No, not really. I mean, look, for him to then go, he was going last night into the judge being crooked. He can do that, okay? And he can, if he wants to rail on Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan DA, he can do that. But look, what we've seen is he's been getting the warning. It's like, this is, even before we had the whole hearing, there had been admonishment from Judge Merchan. Justice Merchan, he had already been giving Trump these warnings. They have not had any deterrent effect. He is continuing to push the envelope because it's a game of chicken. Effectively, he's basically daring everybody to do something about it, and nobody's doing anything about it. And I think it bears repeating, based on what Katie and Jeremy were just saying. Again, if anybody else did this, they would be facing lockup. They'd be throwing themselves a parade just to get away with some fines. Like, this is not something that people get away with. Any other defendant, it would have been a different story. He's continuing to push the envelope, and I think he will continue to keep violating these gag orders and to keep on trashing witnesses and the jurors until something's done about it, and nothing has been done about it yet.